The subway doors slid shut behind me, almost snagging my designer blazer. Just another manic Monday in Aurora. My name is Ava Sinclair. I'm 34, and already a senior investment banker at Horizon Capital. My heels tapped against the dirty floor as I glanced at my Rolex. 7:43. Damn, I was cutting it close for the 8 a.m. client meeting. The subway rocked as bodies pressed together in that all-too-familiar morning rush. I gripped the metal pole, trying not to think about the germs. My perfectly manicured nails gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Being a perfectionist had gotten me far in the cutthroat world of investment banking. That is when I saw her. She stood on the opposite platform, tall and commanding in a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Her black hair was swept up in an elegant twist, revealing a graceful neck adorned with a single strand of pearls. But it was her eyes that caught me, emerald green and sharp as cut glass. Our gazes locked across the tracks. Time seemed to slow, the rushing crowd fading to background noise. She tilted her head slightly, a ghost of a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. My heart did something it had not done since high school. It skipped a beat. The moment shattered as her train arrived, blocking my view. I pressed forward instinctively, earning annoyed grunts from my fellow passengers. When the train cleared, she was gone. I spent the rest of the ride mentally scolding myself. I was Ava Sinclair, the ice queen of Horizon Capital. I did not get flustered over random women on the subway, no matter how striking their eyes were, or how perfectly their suits fit. Next stop, Financial District, the automated voice announced. I straightened my blazer and gripped my briefcase. The morning meeting was with a tech company owner seeking major investment. I needed to focus. Yet as I strode through the station, my mind kept drifting back to those green eyes. Sinclair. Cutting it close, my colleague Noah remarked as I swept past reception. I gave him my trademark cool smile. I am never late, Noah. Everyone else is simply early. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor gave me time to settle into my professional persona. By the time I reached the conference room, the mysterious subway woman was firmly pushed to the back of my mind. Or so I thought. I opened the door, prepared to dazzle another client with my financial expertise. And there she was, rising from her seat at the conference table. Those same green eyes now sparkled with amused recognition. Ava Sinclair. She extended her hand. Vivian Kincaid. I believe we shared an interesting moment on the subway this morning. My carefully constructed professional mask cracked just slightly. The universe, it seemed, had other plans for my perfectly ordered life, and they all revolved around Vivian Kincaid, the woman who would turn my world upside down in ways I could never have imagined. I pride myself on maintaining composure in any situation, but Vivian Kincaid's presence threw me off balance. Her handshake was firm, professional, yet somehow lingering. The conference room suddenly felt too warm. Interesting indeed, I managed, sliding into my chair. Your proposal caught our attention. Noah droned through the introductions, but I barely heard him. I was too busy trying not to stare at Vivian as she gracefully took her seat. Her suit jacket had the subtle pinstripe, and her pearl necklace caught the morning light. My company, Tech Vision, needs significant capital for expansion, Vivian began. Her voice carried the quiet authority of someone used to commanding rooms. We have promising developments in artificial intelligence. I forced myself to focus on the numbers. The pitch was bold, maybe too bold, and as Vivian guided us through forecasts, I clocked the subtle cues, a sliver of tension in her shoulders. The way she clutched her pen a fraction too hard. These growth targets feel rosy, I said, keeping my tone even. What is your fallback strategy? Her green eyes lifted to meet mine over the table. Perhaps we can review the specifics more carefully in private. Noah shifted in his chair. I sent him a glance that chased him out with hurried apologies. The door clicked shut behind him. Your operation is losing cash, I said plainly. These figures do not reconcile. Vivian's professional mask slipped a shade. I value candor. Ms. Sinclair. Ava, I corrected without thinking. And candor is what I deal in. She rose and walked to the window. The city stretched. Beneath us, a maze of chances and traps. The tech is transformative. We just need runway. Runway is costly. I moved to stand beside her. And you are running out of both. Have dinner with me, she said abruptly. I will show you everything. The double edge of it hung between us. I should have declined. Boundaries exist for a reason. Yet those impossible green eyes tugged at something buried. 8 o'clock. Send me the address. I passed her my card. Our fingers brushed, and a static charge skated between us. The rest of the afternoon dissolved into haze. I buried myself in diligence, trying to ignore the thrum in my chest. Tech Vision's books were a wreck, but under the disorder, I sensed possibility. At 7:55, my cab rolled up to an upscale spot. In Cherry Creek, Vivian waited at the curb, her black hair now falling in soft waves over her shoulders. She had changed into a deep burgundy dress that made my mouth go dry. I worried you might not show, she said quietly. I keep my appointments. I stepped closer. Though this feels less like business, does that trouble you? Her scent was subtle and intoxicating. It should. I held her gaze steady. But it does not. Inside, over perfectly seared scallops and wine priced higher than my first car, Vivian laid bare the real state of Tech Vision. The product was groundbreaking, but investors were fleeing. She needed a miracle. Why did you really bring me here? I asked as dessert landed. Vivian's fingers traced the stem of her glass. Because when our eyes met this morning, I saw something rare. Someone who might understand. Understand what? The cost of achievement. The loneliness near the summit. She leaned in. The need to trust one person. I should have walked away. My instincts warned there was more to this story. Yet, as night thickened and wine flowed, I felt myself pulled into Vivian's gravity. She was brilliant, intricate, and perhaps dangerous to everything I had built. When we parted outside, she caught my hand. Thank you for listening, Ava. This changes nothing about the deal. I cautioned. She smiled, sly and unreadable. Of course not. But perhaps it changes something else. I watched her vanish into a waiting car, my skin still alive where she had touched me. I was tempting a flame, and I knew it. The question was, would I be burned, or had I finally found someone worth the hazard? Coffee became our rhythm over the next few weeks. Every morning at 7 o'clock, before the city was fully awake, we would meet at a quiet cafe near the financial district. The early light would hit Vivian's hair, rendering it almost blue-black. Your board grows impatient, I said one morning, stirring my Americano. They want answers. Vivian's mouth tightened slightly. They always want answers. That is all they ever want. I had learned to read her weather. Today, something was off. Her usual commands seemed dimmed, her shoulders bearing an unseen weight. What is truly happening, Vivian? I kept my voice low, intimate. She scanned the nearly empty cafe, then leaned closer. Can we speak somewhere private? 20 minutes later, we were in my office. Vivian paced by the window, the rising sun casting long shadows across the carpet. Her composure fissured. Lena is dying, she breathed, the words dropping like stones into the still room. Lena, my partner. 5 years together. Vivian's hands shook. Pancreatic cancer. The treatments are experimental, expensive. Comprehension clicked. The frantic hunt for money, the compressed timelines, the investment funds. Some portion would cover her care. Vivian turned back to me, eyes bright with unshed tears. I know it is wrong, but I cannot lose her. I should have reported her at once. Channeling investor money to personal needs is illegal, whatever the motive. But witnessing her unguarded sorrow, my professional detachment faltered. There, Our other options, I said softly. Lawful options. She stepped closer, her perfume closing around me like warm dusk after rain and memory. Help me find them. Our coffee meetings stretched longer. We would discuss financial strategies, but conversations inevitably drifted personal. I learned about her childhood in Vermont, her struggle to build tech vision from nothing. You remind me of myself at your age, she said one evening as we worked late, so determined to prove yourself. I have nothing to prove anymore. I shuffled papers, avoiding her gaze. No. Her hand covered mine, stilling my movements. Then why do you work so hard? The office was empty, twilight painting the sky purple beyond the windows. Vivian's touch sent warmth spiraling through me. Some of us just want to excel. I managed. Her thumb traced circles on my wrist. And some of us are running from something. I pulled away, heart racing. We should focus on the proposal. But focus became impossible. Every meeting was charged with unspoken tension. Every accidental touch lingered too long. I caught myself watching her lips as she spoke, imagining, Ava. Her voice brought me back to reality. Where did you go just now? Nowhere important. I straightened papers that were already straight. About the third quarter projections. Stop. Vivian stood, walking around my desk. For once, stop analyzing. She perched on the edge of my desk, close enough that I could smell her perfume. What are we doing here, Ava? Business, I said automatically. Just business. Is that all? Her hand brushed my cheek. Because I think we both know that is not true. The smart move would have been to pull away, to maintain professional boundaries, to remember Lena dying in some hospital bed while I contemplated kissing her partner. But I was tired of being smart. Vivian's lips parted slightly. An invitation I was suddenly desperate to accept. The space between us crackled with possibility. A knock at the door shattered the moment. Noah's voice called through. Ava, the board needs those projections. Vivian straightened, smoothing her skirt, but her eyes promised this conversation was not over. Tomorrow? She asked softly. I nodded, not trusting my voice. As she left, I pressed my forehead against the cool window glass. What was I doing? This could destroy everything I had built. But watching her walk away, I realized something terrifying. Maybe, just maybe, it would be worth it. Please note that I'll maintain appropriate language and avoid explicit content. Here's Chapter 4. Vivian's proposal came on a rainy Tuesday evening. The office was empty except for us. Spreadsheets scattered across my desk like fallen leaves. I have another option, she said quietly. One that could solve everything. I looked up from the financial reports, noting the tension in her shoulders. I am listening. There's a way to structure the investment. She passed me a folder. Creative accounting, you might say. My stomach dropped as I reviewed the documents. The scheme was elegant, nearly undetectable. It would funnel money through shell companies, making it appear as legitimate business expenses. This is fraud, I said flatly. You know that. It is survival. Vivian leaned forward. The technology works, Ava. We just need time. And Lena's treatments. I kept my voice neutral. A small portion. Her green eyes pleaded. No one would notice. I stood, pacing to the window. Rain streaked the glass, distorting the city lights below. Do you know what you are asking? I'm asking you to trust me. She moved behind me, her reflection ghosted in the window. To help me save both my company and someone I love, by breaking the law. I turned to face her. By risking everything we have both worked for. Sometimes the right thing and the legal thing are not the same. The space between us crackled with tension. I could smell her perfume, subtle and intoxicating. I need to review these numbers, I said, stepping back. But as I reached for the folder, something caught my eye, a discrepancy in the quarterly reports. Vivian noticed my pause. What is it? These figures. I pulled up previous statements on my computer. They do not match the original submissions. Her face remained carefully neutral. Clerical errors happen. Not like this. I dug deeper, finding more inconsistencies. Vivian, what are you not telling me? Ava, please. She reached for my hand. Trust me. Trust works both ways. I pulled away. Tell me the truth. Our eyes locked in a silent battle of wills. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. I cannot, she whispered finally. Then neither can I. I gathered the documents. This proposal is rejected. Ava, her voice stopped me at the door. You do not understand what is at stake. I understand perfectly. I turned back. You are asking me to commit fraud. She moved closer, too close. I'm asking you to help me. Why me? The question escaped before I could stop it. Because from that first moment on the subway, I knew you were different. Her hand cupped my cheek. Because I see how you look at me. My heart thundered in my chest. Vivian, do not. But she was already leaning in, her lips brushing mine with devastating softness. The file slipped from my fingers, papers scattering across the floor. The kiss deepened, years of loneliness and desire crashing together like storm waves. Her hands tangled in my hair as I pressed her against the wall. Reality crashed back. When my elbow knocked over a lamp, the shattering glass broke the spell. I stepped back, breathing hard. This cannot happen. It already has. Vivian straightened her blouse. And you know this is more than just business now. That makes it worse. I began gathering the scattered papers. I cannot be objective anymore. Then stop trying to be. She knelt beside me. Help me find another way. I looked at her. This woman who had completely upended my carefully ordered life. If I find something in these records, you will do what you have to do. She stood. Just like I will. She left me there, surrounded by papers and broken glass. The taste of her still on my lips. I had stepped over a boundary, both at work and in my life. The only question was how many more lines I would cross. For her. Thunder rolled outside as I began combing through the financials. Something wasn't aligning, and I had a slow dread I wouldn't like what surfaced. Sleep turned into a luxury I couldn't justify. Each night, I pored over Tech Vision's ledgers, searching for answers. The figures swam before my aching eyes, spelling out a story I wasn't sure I wanted to face. You look exhausted, Vivian murmured over our morning coffee. Her concern seemed genuine. Occupational hazard. I took a sip of my double espresso. Your company's books are keeping me awake. Something flickered in her gaze. Find anything interesting? Nothing definitive. I lied, while studying her reaction. The truth was, I had uncovered plenty. Tangled money trails, shadow accounts, patterns that raised red flags. But I needed stronger proof before confronting her. Come to my office tonight, she said abruptly. I'll show you something. That might help. I should have refused. Professional lines had already smudged beyond recognition. But curiosity won. 8 o'clock. She nodded, that ghost of a smile tugging at her mouth. Wear something comfortable. It could be a long night. The Tech Vision office took the top floor of a glass tower downtown. After dark, the view of Aurora was astonishing. Vivian waited in her corner space, jacket off, sleeves pushed high. These are the original development files, she said, gesturing at boxes of folders. Everything from the start. Hours slid by as we worked through the pages. Vivian ordered Chinese, and we ate cross-legged on her carpeted floor. Tell me about Lena, I asked quietly, watching her response. Pain crossed her face. Time is the one thing we do not have. She was right. The next morning, Horizon Capital received a formal inquiry about my involvement with Tech Vision. The board wants to speak with you, my director said gravely. I straightened my blazer. Of course. The meeting was exactly what I expected. Concerned faces. Carefully worded questions about my relationship with Vivian Kincaid. This investigation puts us in a difficult position, the chairman said. I understand completely. I smiled coolly. That is why I have already prepared my resignation. Shocked silence filled the boardroom. I placed my letter on the table and stood. It has been a pleasure, gentlemen. Vivian was waiting in my apartment when I returned. How did it go? Exactly as planned. I kicked off my heels. I am officially unemployed. She wrapped her arms around me from behind. I am sorry. Do not be. I leaned back into her embrace. Now we can work without constraints. We spent the next days building our case. Vivian's industry contacts provided crucial links, while my financial expertise traced the money. Look at this, she called out one evening. A pattern in the research access logs. I examined the data. Someone had been copying Lena's work piece by piece long before her death. They were stealing it all along. I realized. The takeover was just cleanup. Vivian's hands clenched into fists. We have them. Almost. I pulled up more files. We need one more piece. That piece arrived unexpectedly. A junior programmer from Tech Vision reached out, offering internal communications proving the conspiracy. Why now? Vivian asked during our secret meeting. Because Dr. Kincaid was kind to me. The young woman said simply. She deserved better. Armed with the final evidence, we prepared to move. But that night, as Vivian slept beside me, my phone buzzed with a warning. They know, my sec contact wrote. Get out. Now. I gently shook Vivian awake. We need to go. She read the message and nodded. Within minutes, we were in my car, heading out of Aurora. Where are we going? She asked. Somewhere safe. I clasped her hand. Trust me. Please. Now. Dawn found us at a secluded cabin in the hills, owned by a friend who never asked questions. What now? Vivian stood at the window, watching the sunrise. I wrapped my arms around her waist. Now we finish this. She turned in my embrace. Together. Always. I kissed her softly. They cannot hide anymore. The morning light washed everything gold with warmth, promising a new day. We had lost our jobs, our reputations, maybe even our safety. Yet, we had found each other. And together, still, we would seek justice for Lena. The mountain cabin became our war room. Vivian and I worked around the clock, organizing evidence and mapping our next moves. Dr. Victor Lin is the key, Vivian said, pinning his photo to our evidence wall. Tech Vision's former chief technology officer. I studied his image. The one who resigned right after Lena's death. He knew about the tampering. She drew lines between documents, but he was too afraid to speak up. My sec contact had confirmed Dr. Lin's location in Denver. Now we just need to convince him to talk. He will not meet us directly, I warned. Not after. What happened to Lena? Vivian's face hardened at her sister's name. Then we make him come to us. We crafted our message carefully, including just enough proof to show we knew the truth. The reply arrived within hours. Tomorrow, noon. Denver Botanic Gardens. The gardens were crowded with tourists. Perfect cover for a clandestine meeting. I spotted Dr. Lin right away. A nervous man in an ill-fitting suit. Dr. Lin. I approached casually. Thank you for coming. His eyes flicked around. I cannot stay long. Long enough to explain this. Vivian stepped from behind a tree, holding up a tablet. On the screen sat an email chain. Victor's face went pale. Where did you get that? Lena kept backups, Vivian said flatly. Of everything. The next hour changed everything. Victor's confession spilled out between trembling sips of water. They contacted me first. He explained. Offered millions for access to Lena's research, but she refused to sell. Vivian prompted. She was idealistic. Victor wiped his brow. Wanted the technology used for public good. So they killed her. I finished softly. He nodded miserably. They said it would look natural. The cancer offered perfect cover. Vivian's hands shook as she recorded his statement. I reached for her fingers, squeezing gently. Names, I demanded. We need names. Victor, produced a USB drive. Everything is here. But once they realize I talked, we will protect you. I promised. The drive contained exactly what we needed. Corporate communications, bank transfers, medical records, a complete conspiracy exposed. We were so focused on our victory, we missed the warning signs. The first bullet shattered the garden's greenhouse. Tourists screamed and scattered. Get down. I dragged Vivian behind a concrete planter. Victor ran but did not make it. A red bloom spread on his chest as he collapsed. Ava. Vivian's warning came too late. Something hard cracked. My temple. The world reeled sideways as I crumpled. Through swimming vision, I saw Vivian fighting. Her martial arts training obvious. But there were too many. Take them both. A voice ordered. Clean this up. I tried to reach for Vivian as darkness closed in. Her green eyes were the final thing I saw. I woke in darkness, head pounding. Industrial sounds echoed nearby. A warehouse. Vivian, I whispered. Here. Her voice drifted from nearby. Are you hurt? Only my pride. I tested my bonds. Been better. She shifted closer. They grabbed the drive. Not the only copy. I smiled. In the dark. Before leaving Denver, we had sent everything to multiple secure vaults. Dead man switches would release it all if we failed to check in regularly. Heavy footsteps neared. A door creaked open, spilling harsh light. Ms. Sinclair, a familiar voice said, We need to discuss your interference in corporate matters. I squinted up at Dominic Voss, TechVision's board chairman. Dom, I managed to smirk. Quite a promotion from mailroom clerk. His face darkened. You have no idea what you're mixed up in. Actually, Vivian cut in. We know precisely what this is about. Is that so? Voss gestured to his men. Make them talk. Find who else knows. As they advanced, I caught Vivian's eye. She gave a tiny nod. We were not finished yet. Not by a long shot. The next few hours would decide everything. Our lives, Lena's justice, and whatever future we might build together. I tensed, ready. Sometimes you must risk everything for what matters. And Vivian, she unquestionably mattered. Voss's men made their first mistake when they split us. Their second was underestimating how much we had prepared for this. One last time. Voss leaned over me. Who else has the files? I spat blood onto his expensive shoes. Go to hell. Dom. His face twisted. Still the same arrogant Ava. You never did know your place. And you never learned to cover your tracks properly. A commotion erupted outside the room. Shouts and thuds rolled through the warehouse. Voss's phone buzzed. His face drained as he read the message. Impossible. Indeed, he whispered. I smiled through split lips. Right on schedule. The dead man switch had activated. Every major news outlet and law enforcement agency was now receiving Lena's research data and evidence of TechVision's crimes. You think this changes anything? Voss grabbed my collar. We own the system. Not anymore. Vivian's voice rang out from the doorway. She stood there, somehow free, holding Voss's security chief at gunpoint. How? Voss spun around. You should have checked my military background, Vivian said coldly. Special Forces tends to teach useful skills. I used his distraction to slam my head back, catching his nose. He stumbled away as I rolled clear. Ava, down. Vivian's warning preceded the sound of sirens. FBI agents swarmed the warehouse. My sec contact had come through after all. Dominic Voss, an agent announced. You are under arrest for conspiracy and murder. I watched them cuff him, satisfaction warring with exhaustion. Vivian helped me up, her touch gentle despite her own bruises. Your timing is impeccable, I murmured. Could not let them rough up my favorite investment banker. She smiled softly. The next hours passed in a blur of statements. and medical checks. Dawn found us at FBI headquarters, slowly working through decades of corporate corruption. Miss Sinclair, the lead agent said, "Your evidence is extraordinary. Thank Lena Kincaid." I replied, "She died protecting this research." Vivian squeezed my hand under the table. The case against TechVision's board was ironclad. Voss's confession, faced with overwhelming evidence, implicated dozens of conspirators. The quantum encryption research, Vivian asked quietly. "Secure," the agent assured us. "It will be developed as Dr. Kincaid intended, for public benefit." Later, exhausted but triumphant, we stood on my apartment balcony, watching the sun rise over Aurora. "What now?" Vivian asked, her head resting on my shoulder. "Now we rebuild." I turned to face her. Both TechVision and our lives. Instead of answering, I kissed her. She tasted of coffee and victory and possibility. The media storm hit hard. Business journals exploded with headlines about corporate espionage and murder. My former colleagues at Horizon Capital scrambled to distance themselves, but their connections to TechVision were already exposed. Vivian testified before Congress about technology theft and corporate accountability. Her passion for Lena's legacy moved even hardened politicians. I focused on restructuring TechVision, working with federal regulators to preserve the company while excising the corruption. "The board wants you as CEO," I told Vivian one evening. "Permanently, this time." She looked up from Lena's research notes. "Only if you will be my CFO, mixing business and pleasure." I teased. "Always." She pulled me close. "We make a good team." The legal proceedings moved swiftly. Voss and his conspirators faced lengthy sentences for Lena's murder and the technology theft. TechVision emerged transformed under Vivian's leadership. The quantum encryption research advanced ethically, protecting digital privacy worldwide. "Lena would be proud," I said, watching Vivian present the technology at a global conference. She smiled, though tears shimmered in her green eyes. "She would have loved you, because I helped expose the truth. Because you helped me find justice." Vivian touched my cheek. "And something more." Outside, reporters still clamored for interviews about the scandal. But here, in this moment, none of that mattered. We had overcome lies, corruption, and death to find truth. And in that truth, we found each other. Sometimes the biggest frauds hide the greatest treasures. You just have to be brave enough to dig deep and fight for what matters. For me, that treasure was a brilliant woman with green eyes and an unshakable sense of justice. The rest is just details in our increasingly extraordinary story. Spring came to Aurora with a promise of new beginnings. TechVision's rebirth dominated business news, but I had other transformations on my mind. The penthouse, or the mountain house? Vivian asked over breakfast. I stirred my coffee thoughtfully. Both seemed obvious. We were hunting for our first shared home. After everything we had survived, living apart felt pointless. We could build something new. I suggested. Fresh start. Vivian's eyes lit up. I know the perfect spot. She drove us to a hillside property overlooking the city. The view stretched from downtown Aurora to the distant mountains. Lena and I used to hike here, she said softly. She always said this would be perfect for a home. I took her hand. Then this is where we will build. The next months passed in a whirlwind of progress. TechVision's quantum encryption technology revolutionized digital security. Vivian's leadership transformed the company culture. Innovation flourished without corruption's shadow. I launched my own investment consulting firm, specializing in ethical corporate restructuring. My experience with TechVision attracted clients worldwide. Ready to present to the Tokyo investors? Vivian called from our temporary apartment. Born ready. I adjusted my suit jacket. You always. She kissed me quickly. See you at the office. Our professional lives remained carefully separate. No one could accuse us of impropriety now. But watching her command the boardroom still made my heart race. Her confidence was intoxicating. Brilliant presentation. I whispered during a break. She smiled that private smile. Wait until you see tonight's plans. Construction on our house progressed steadily. We spent weekends reviewing designs and choosing materials. The study needs better light, Vivian insisted. For Lena's photos. I agreed. The house would honor her memory while embracing our future. One evening, reviewing final plans, Vivian grew quiet. What is it? I asked. I never thought I would find this, she said softly. After Lena died, I focused only on revenge. And now I have purpose again. She touched my cheek. And love. The word hung between us. Precious and new. We had never labeled this thing between us. Move in with me, I blurted. Before the house is ready. She blinked. I practically live here already. Make it official. I took her hands. No more separate addresses. Her smile could have lit the city. Yes. Merging our lives proved surprisingly simple. Her books filled my shelves. Her clothes claimed closet space. Our morning routine became a comfortable dance of coffee and kisses. The press is asking about our relationship, she mentioned one day. I looked up from my laptop. What will you tell them? The truth. She sat beside me. That love bloomed from justice. Our house neared completion as summer approached. The glass walls would capture both sunrise and sunset. Perfect for morning yoga, Vivian noted. Touring the master bedroom. Among other things, I teased, earning a playful swat. Lena's presence lingered in subtle touches. Her favorite flowers bloomed in the garden. Her research filled the study walls. She would have loved this view, Vivian said softly. I held her close. She led us here. In a way. The truth in that struck us both. Without Lena's legacy, we might never have found each other. Ready to start our next chapter? I asked. Vivian's answer was a kiss that tasted of future promises. We had built something remarkable from tragedy's ashes. A home, a love, a legacy. And standing there, holding Vivian as the sun set over our new beginning, I knew. Sometimes the greatest treasures come disguised as corporate fraud cases. You just have to be brave enough to follow them through. 1 year later, I found myself on that same subway platform where it all began. The morning crowd rushed past, but I stood still, remembering. Penny, for your thoughts. Vivian's voice came from behind me. I turned to find her holding 2 coffee cups. Just feeling nostalgic about that first morning. She handed me my Americano. When you could not take your eyes off me. As I recall, you were the one staring. I sipped my coffee, smiling. We had come full circle. The subway still rattled through Aurora, but everything else had changed. The gala starts at 8, Vivian reminded me. Ready to make it official? Tonight's Tech Vision Charity Gala would mark our first public appearance as a couple. Should be interesting, I mused. The gossip columns will explode. Let them talk. She squeezed my hand. We have nothing to hide anymore. The day passed in a blur of preparations. Our new house hummed with activity as we got ready. Zip me up, Vivian asked, holding her emerald gown in place. I obliged, letting my fingers trail along her spine. You look stunning. Not so bad yourself. She turned, adjusting my bow tie. Very dashing. The gala venue sparkled with Aurora's elite. Heads turned as we entered together. Vivian Kincaid and Ava Sinclair, the announcer called. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Everyone knew our story, but seeing us together still caused a stir. Quite an entrance, Noah commented, approaching with champagne. Good to see you, old friend. I accepted a glass. He had stood by us through everything, one of the few from my old life who understood. Vivian took the podium later, announcing Tech Vision's new charitable foundation. The Lena Kincaid Foundation will ensure quantum encryption technology serves the public good. Her voice caught slightly on her sister's name. I moved closer in silent support. Together, we will build the future my sister envisioned. The applause was thunderous. Lena's legacy would live on, protecting digital privacy worldwide. Later, as the orchestra played, Vivian led me to the dance floor. Remember our first dance? She asked softly. At that investor dinner, I pulled her closer. You were trying to convince me to trust you. And now I trust you with everything. The music changed to a familiar melody, our song. Come with me, Vivian whispered suddenly. She led me to the rooftop garden. The city lights sparkled below like earthbound stars. This feels familiar. I smiled, planning another corporate takeover. Something more personal. She turned to face me. Ava Sinclair, you changed everything. My heart skipped as she reached into her clutch. When we met, I was consumed by revenge. She opened a small velvet box. You showed me how to live again. The ring caught the starlight, simple and elegant. Marry me, she asked softly. Time seemed to stop, just like that first morning on the subway. Yes, I whispered. 1,000 times. Yes. The ring slid perfectly onto my finger as our lips met. Below, the city continued its endless dance. But up here under the stars, we had found our perfect moment. I love you, Vivian murmured. Against my lips. I love you, too. Sometimes the greatest stories begin with a simple glance across a subway platform. Sometimes justice leads to love. And sometimes, if you are very lucky, you find both. We had come full circle, Vivian and I, from strangers to conspirators to lovers. Now, we would write our next chapter together. Not bad for a corporate fraud case, I thought, holding my fiancé under the aurora stars. Not bad at all.